Hello and welcome to another edition of Tuesday Evening Scratch Basics. Today we're going to tackle a labyrinth, not a maze, but a labyrinth for our little kitty cat to go through as he rescues the winter holiday, standard icons such as Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa, just have some fun. As we make a labyrinth. So, question first, this is a little bit of educational. What is the difference between a labyrinth and a maze? A maze is a obstacle to get through that takes you from one spot out to the other side of the maze. A labyrinth has you go through this obstacle to get to the center of it. So a maze gets you through it, a labyrinth gets you to the center of it. Small difference, but it's a good thing to know in case you ever run into a minotaur. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on our project, our winter holiday labyrinth. So first off, if you've never used Scratch before, on the left are a bunch of block commands that are kind of already made up, set up to do certain things under different categories. And we're going to use those to make our maze. And as we go through each part, we'll explain what's happening for all you new people. For those who know what they're doing, don't worry, you're going to get some cool stuff with this as well. So first off, let's save it. I'm going to go up here where mine says Untitled 13, delete that, and I'm just going to call it Winter Lab, because I don't remember at this moment in time how to spell labyrinth, but I'm sure you can figure that out. Okay, since we're going to be using our little cat, we're going to click on it, we're going to rename it Player. Now, we only have this amount of space on the top right to make this maze in, so we need to shrink this cat down. Now, there are other ways we can do it to keep the cat the same size, but we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to shrink him down and have it work like that. Best way to do that is to click on it down here where it says size in the middle right. Right now it says 100. Let's bring that down to, let's say, 15. Ooh, that's a little too small. Let's do 25. Perfect. Okay. And then let's just bring them down to the lower left corner here, just as a good starting spot. We can pick anywhere, but I just picked this one because I want to. Okay. So what we need to do first is let's set up the player character here to move around, because right now if you click any buttons, nothing happens. So we need to give this sprite, which is what it's called, or the player character, whatever you want to call it, the ability to move around. So we're going to go over to events, and we're going to do this. The green flag is clicked. That's going to help set up everything so that this is when the game starts, because if you've never done Scratch games before, the green flag means go, red flag means stop. Pretty simple. So what happens is when the game starts, when the green flag is clicked, we want this to be able to move around. To do that, we're going to go over here to Sensing, and we're going to click this key space pressed. We're going to click and drag that over to our, let's say, loading zone. And what we're going to do is you can see if you click on where it says space, there's a bunch of different keys we can configure to make it do certain things. So we're going to actually make 4 of these. I'm just going to right click, hit duplicate, right click, do duplicate, and I'm going to change this to up arrow, the next one to down arrow, next one to right arrow, next one to left arrow. Excellent. What we're then going to do is we're going to go over to motion, and we're going to click this change X by 10. It's about halfway down the left side. We're going to make 2 of these, so 1 and 2. So X is left and right on the screen. So when we tell it to change X by 10, that means it's going to move it 10 pixels to the right. If we go -10, when this works, it'll move the thing 10 pixels to the left. Okay, so now we want to tie those things into our button presses. To do that, we're going to go over to Control, and we want to click on this if-then statement. What this does, it tells the computer, when this thing happens, do this. So, when the right arrow key is pressed, we want to change it to move X by 10 pixels. We're also going to grab this forever tag code because we want this to always happen. Right now, if we set it up, it'll only do it once. And that is not very useful. We want it to always happen whenever we press the right arrow key. So we're going to take that forever, put it at the bottom of that green flag, and then right here in the middle of the forever, we're going to click and drag the whole if-then statement right in there. So you can see it's going to pop open so it fits in there, no problem. All right, let's test it out real quick. We're going to hit the green flag, and we're going to hit the right arrow key. Excellent. So let's do the same thing with the left arrow. We're going to grab a if-then, pop in the condition. So if the left arrow key is pressed, we want it to change direction in -10x. And we're just going to pop this into the forever as well. You can see it expands so it's all there. So we're going to click on this again. So we're going to make sure the right arrow still works. Perfect. And now the left arrow. Excellent. So you can probably guess we're going to now do the same thing with the up and down. And the way that works, we're going to go back to the motion category, is we change Y. Y is up and down on a graph. And it's going to be the same thing. A +10 is going to go up. A -10 is going to go down. So we're going to duplicate that and change that 10 to a -10. So we have one that's 10, one that's -10. We're going to go back to Control, grab 2 more if-then boxes, and like we did before, pop in the conditions, which is the arrow keys being pressed, and then what happens when those keys are pressed. For the up arrow, we're going to leave it at 10. For the down arrow, we're going to tell it -10. And we're going to pop those into that forever. The nice thing is that forever will expand until everything you want is in there. All right. Let's test this out. So right, perfect. Left, perfect. Up, excellent. And down, perfect. Okay. So we've got some basic motion taken care of. You know what, let's spruce this up a little bit, make it actually look like the little cat is walking around. The way we do that is in the top right, there's a tab that says Costumes. We're going to click on that. And we can see that the cat has 2 different costumes that Scratch has made for us. So let's have this look like it's walking whenever you press an arrow key. And you'll notice this first one that we use is called Costume 1. Second one is called Costume 2. Let's go back to the Code tab with that knowledge in our heads. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Looks, and we're going to do Next Costume. Now we could do Switch to Costume 2, Switch to Costume 1, but that takes a lot more keeping track of things than I really want to deal with. The Next Costume works just fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that Next Costume, we're going to duplicate it so that there's 4 of them. Perfect. And we're going to slip it in right above the blue movement code. So we're going to put this right above, change X by 10, by -10, change Y by 10, and -Y by 10. Or Y by -10. All right, so let's see what that looks like. We're going to hit the green flag again. And as you can kind of see, the thing changes as it moves. And it kind of looks like it is walking a little bit. Perfect. Okay. So, nice and simple, very easy. Next up, let's make our maze. To do that, we're going to make another sprite. And we're going to go over here to the bottom left. We're not going to click on it. We're just going to put our mouse over this little kitty cat head looking thing. And instead of choose a sprite, we're going to do paint, because that'll let us make our own thing. Now the easiest way, well actually let's rename this real quick. This is going to be Lab 1. Perfect. Now the easiest way to make a labyrinth, it's much easier to make a labyrinth than a maze, is we're going to take the square tool and we're going to turn off fill. We want this to be just the outline. And we're going to make a square holding down and dragging it out to be the right size. Now, as you can see, it kind of takes up some of the screen. It kind of goes off the screen as well. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit smaller until we can get just the right amount of screen. Now, it's weird that it's going to go past what looks like it should be the viewing area, but that's just how Scratch works. Perfect. Okay, we're going to do this 3 more times, making squares inside of each square. Let's see what that looks like. And using the already made one as a guide, we can figure out what we're doing. Let's do one more. Perfect. Okay. So we have kind of our labyrinth, but as you can see, there's not really anywhere for this little cat to go. So we need to make little entryways into each part of the labyrinth. So what we're going to do, while we have Lab 1 selected, we're going to go over to this eraser, and we're just going to, kind of randomly pick spots that the cat could go through. So let's start in the middle. We'll just get rid of that a little bit. Just click where we don't want a line anymore. Perfect. And let's put one over here. Again, this is your choice where to put one. I'm just doing this because, it makes sense to me. And I'm going to put one over here, a little entryway over here. And then let's do one. Let's see here. Is there one in this one? Nope. Perfect. And then the next one, let's put it right up here. And actually, since we're going to be starting in the maze, that looks just, labyrinth. That works just fine. Okay, perfect. So we have our labyrinth, and we have our little cat that can move around. But as you can see, it's going to have no problem moving through these lines. So what we want to do first is think about how fast do we want this cat to move, because he goes pretty fast with those 10 pixels. So let's actually go back to the cat and change that, because we're going to have some very interesting obstacles in this labyrinth for the cat to go around. So we make sure that the player doesn't go too fast, so they have time to react to things happening. So let's change all these to 5. -5 in the appropriate spots, of course. Excellent. Okay. And as you can see, we'll restart. He moves a lot slower, which is good, because you want to be careful when you're in a labyrinth. Okay. The other thing we want to do is we're going to set up, not in this tutorial, but the next one, a way for the walls to block the creature, the player, the cat, whatever you want to call it, from being able to go through the walls. But first, we need to get the labyrinth ready. So as you can see, over here, it's not too bad. The cat can move through just fine. But if we go into this center spot, it's a little hard to not hit the walls. So what we need to do is we need to go back to Lab 1, go to the Costume tab, and basically select each of these parts of the labyrinth and make them big enough so that the cat can move around without too much problem. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Now, what we're going to do now is each time we start the game, we want this little cat to start in the same spot. Easiest way to do that is add underneath this green flag. I just separated them to make it look easier. We want it to always show up in the same spot. We're going to go to motion for that. And the cool thing is if we show this go to x, -207, y, -140, that actually will change depending on where the cat is. As you can see, it's changing. So if we want it to always start in this lower corner, or wherever you want to put it, we're going to have that go right beneath, so that no matter where the cat is, when the game restarts, it always goes back to the starting spot. All right, and we're going to do one more thing for this one. We are going to set up a welcome screen. Basically, when you start a game, it's going to have the title of the game. It's going to have, like a start button, maybe a description of the game. We want to do that as soon as we can because we're going to tie a lot of things to that opening screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to, again, go back to the sprite, go back to paint. The sprite, we're just going to say opening, that works. And what we're going to do is we're going to just make a nice little backdrop. The fill we do want to have, I'm going to pick a nice blue fill. And I'm going to do the square again to take up as much space as possible. Perfect. I'm then going to click on the text. I'm going to change the color because if it's blue, it's not really going to show up very well. Let me just do black for now. We can always change it later. And I'm just going to type in cat labyrinth. Hopefully I typed that in right. Game. Oops. Perfect. And I'm just going to click on it and make it a little bit bigger and drag it until it's in the right spot. Excellent. And we're now going to then make another block. Let's say orange. And this will be the start button. We'll move that kind of in the center there. Perfect. And we're just going to type start. Oops, I forgot to make that a different color. Let's do black again. That makes it easy. Perfect. All right. So we're going to go to the code for this opening slide. And we're going to say, again, when the green flag is clicked, so that means at the start of the game, we want something to happen. And what that something is that when this is clicked, we want it to go into the game itself. So we're actually going to get rid of that green one. We don't need that one. We need this one. When this sprite is clicked. My apologies. And then we need to tell it what we want it to do next. So we're going to go to looks. Because we want this to go away, this cat labyrinth game screen, when that is clicked. So then we're going to go here at the bottom of the looks, and we're going to do hide. And this is when we grab that green flag again. Because when the game starts, we want this to go over everything else, to be the first thing you see when you restart the game. So that green flag, looks, and show. Perfect. So let's test that. When we click, that should go away. Perfect. And then when we restart, it should come back. Excellent. Okay. So what we then need to do is tie the player, instead of that green flag, we need to tie it to a message. Because when this is clicked, we want a message to go out to tell everything to show up correctly. So we're going to go to event. We're going to hit broadcast message 1. And we're just going to change that to a new message. We're going to call it what we want, which is start. We're going to go over to player. And we're going to click on when I receive start, this stuff will happen. So let's see if that works. Perfect, and we are good to go. Now the reason I did that, tied it to that instead of just leaving it with the green flag, is that if we left it with the green flag, the player could move the little cat around even with the start screen on. Okay, so this is a good place to stop. We've got our player, we've got our labyrinth, we've got a good couple of codes going so that things can move around, they can be hidden, they can show back up. Join us next Tuesday as we look at how to make these walls not able to get through and start adding some obstacles. So again, thank you for joining us for this Tuesday evening Scratch Basics Winter Holiday Labyrinth Edition. Have a good day.